This one's about my brother, my identical twin. Same DNA, same parents, same room, same dinner table, the same everything, down to the face in the mirror, and completely opposite bank accounts. If the best friend story made you wonder whether money habits are luck, meet the perfect control group. Zane was born 11 minutes before me, a lead he has never once let me forget. We shared a face, a bunk bed, a wardrobe, and a strict one blanket each policy that he violated nightly. Everything about us was split 50-50. Everything, it turns out, except how we'd handle money. Same house, same, we'll see, same coin jar above the same fridge. You know that jar from the last video. Identical inputs. Economists would call us a natural experiment. Ami called us the storm and the ledger. She wasn't wrong. Every Eid, relatives handed us equal money. By sunset, Zane's was gone. Firecrackers, snacks, one memorable rented motorbike hour. Mine went under the mattress. Same amount, same day, same family. 2 operating systems. Here's the honest version. He bought joy and I bought safety. And at 10 years old, let me tell you, his purchases looked a lot smarter. He had stories. I had a lump under a mattress. He was the storm, loud, generous, first to celebrate anything. I was the ledger, careful, watchful, allergic to surprises. Families hand out these roles early, like uniforms. Ours fit suspiciously well. And everyone loved the storm. He tipped with money he didn't have, gifted with money he'd borrow, usually from me, and the room lit up when he entered. Nobody lights up for a ledger. I took notes. Literally. Our first financial contract, we were 11. He borrowed my Eid money for new football boots, promising double back. I wrote it on paper. He signed. That paper is the oldest document in this story, and the debt is still technically open. Scientists run twin studies to separate genes from environment. We are the twin study. 100% identical genes, same house, same rules. Whatever split us, it wasn't DNA and it wasn't parenting. It was the casting. Remember that word. Nobody plans a 30-year experiment on 2 brothers. It just runs, quietly, in birthday gifts and borrowed notes and who pays at dinner. This is the data readout. It gets rough before it gets good. Every family is a small theater. Someone gets cast as the responsible one, someone as the fun one. The auditions happen before you can read, and the reviews follow you for life. I was the careful one by age 7. Say it enough times, a kid makes it true. Praise is a training signal. I chased that label like a dog chases a ball, straight into every saving habit I have. Some medicine tastes like candy. Zane got the lively one. Also, he'll figure it out, and boys like him land on their feet. Notice, nobody ever told him to be careful. His job in the family play was to be delightful. Delight has terrible unit economics. Here's the mechanism nobody sees. Labels become budgets. The careful one saves to stay careful. The lively one spends to stay lively. We weren't managing money. We were funding our characters. When Zane got average grades, at least he's social. When I got good ones, of course, he's the careful one. Same parents, different scoreboards. He learned effort was optional. I learned love was performance-based. Both lessons cost money later. And family dinners had an invisible scoreboard. Cousins' salaries, neighbors' sons, who bought what. Comparison is the family sport of every household like ours. Zane played it by spending. I played it by hoarding. Same anxiety, opposite jerseys. By his 20s, Zane arrived at every gathering with something new. A phone, a jacket, once an actual leased car for a wedding weekend. The table applauded. The applause was the product. Everything else was financing. Confession, I performed too. My modesty was theatrical. The old phone flashed like a badge. Still saving, dropped like a mic. The table's approval ran through me as well. I'd just found a cheaper supplier. 2 actors, 1 audience. That's what we were. And here's the tragedy of it. The audience, parents, uncles, the neighborhood, never actually asked for the show. We inferred the script from applause patterns. Kids always do. Somewhere in our 20s, the play stopped being a play. The storm had storm-sized debts. The ledger had ledger-sized loneliness. Casting had become destiny. Act 2 is where it breaks. We got our first real jobs the same year. Me out of school, him after 2 restless semesters. Similar salaries, same city, same rent-free months at home. The starting line could not have been more equal. Photo finish at the start, canyon at the finish. His first salary lasted 9 days. Day 1, dinner for 8 friends. Day 3, sneakers. Day 6, a speaker. Day 9, borrowing lunch money from me, with the full confidence of a man whose next salary was only 21 days away. Mine never really got spent. It moved from account to account like a nervous bird, saved, checked, rechecked. You already know my disease from the last video, hoarding disguised as virtue. His disease just had better marketing. Understand what he was actually buying. Not sneakers, not dinners. Status in the group, warmth in the room, the identity of a generous man. He was spending to be loved. It works too, briefly, and at a compounding cost. And I was saving to be loved differently, to be the reliable one, the approved one, the son who'd never be a burden. Different aisle, same store. Neither of us had ever once asked what we wanted. There was no character for that. Then banks discovered my brother. Pre-approved cards, easy EMIs, buy now, pay forever. For a man funding a personality, credit is rocket fuel. His lifestyle jumped 2 tax brackets in a year. His income didn't move. He mastered the minimum payment the way I mastered spreadsheets. 4 cards, rotating like plates on sticks. The smile never flickered. That was the job, remember. The storm must always look like weather other people want. And me? I watched it build and said nothing. Told myself those 11 minutes made him the senior partner. Actually, it was the role again. Ledgers record, they don't intervene. Silence felt like politeness. It was actually a loan of a different kind, and the interest was coming. Cousin's wedding, 2019. Zane arrived with gifts that outshone the groom's family. Borrowed money, all of it, I found out later. The table talked about it for months. Applause, thunderous. That night, the experiment's 2 curves officially crossed. By 30, I had a runway and he had a countdown. Same salaries, remember. Nobody at any dinner could see either number. That's the thing about money curves. They cross in silence. The noise comes 2 years later. Storms are financed by tomorrow's weather. In 2021, his tomorrow arrived. Job cut, 4 cards, 1 personal loan, and a lifestyle with a permanent lease. The storm ran out of sky in about 6 weeks. You know how I knew? The calls got shorter. A charismatic man going quiet is a fire alarm. Charm is expensive to run. It's the first appliance that gets switched off when the bill can't be paid. He sold things in reverse order of purchase. Speaker, sneakers, watch. Every object that had bought applause went back out the door at 40% of its price. Status has terrible resale value. Nobody bids on old applause. And the family saw none of it. He kept the costume. Pressed shirt. Big laugh. Business is good. The same table that trained him to perform now made it impossible to stop. Applause is a cage with excellent acoustics. I found out from a cousin, not from him. My own brother, 1 wall away from me our whole childhood, and the news had to travel through a 3rd phone. That's what the roles had cost us. The storm couldn't show weakness, and the ledger wasn't safe to bring it to. The total, when I finally saw it, 1.4 million rupees across 4 cards and a loan, at interest rates that would embarrass a loan shark. Against that, my quiet decade of a runway. The experiment's readout in 2 numbers. Then came the family pressure, in the exact words every one of you has heard. He's your brother. 3 words that arrive as love and land as an invoice. Nobody asks the storm to change. They ask the ledger to pay. Refuse, and I'm the rich brother who let family drown, the careful one gone cold. Pay, and I fund the very performance that caused this, and wait 2 years for the sequel. Every sibling of a spender knows this fork. Both paths look like losing. I paid, quietly, fully, the wrong way. 1 transfer, no plan, no conversation. Guilt money, dressed as rescue. I bought the family's peace and my own moral comfort. What I didn't buy was any change in the machine that produced the debt. Write this down, because it cost me 1.4 million to learn. Rescue without repair is just prepayment on the next rescue. 18 months later, the cards were creeping back. And this time, the anger finally arrived with it. The second ask came by text, casual as a weather report. Bro, tight month? Same as before? Same as before. Like it was a subscription. Like I was a standing order. I stared at that message for an hour. And then, for the first time in 30 years, the ledger spoke. Everything recorded and never said. The Eid loans, the football boots, the wedding flex, the 1.4 million. All of it came out in one long, ugly, overdue conversation on our parents' roof. His counterattack was ready. They always are. Easy for you, you got the good label. The careful one. I was the joke, the backup, the one nobody expected anything from. You think I chose that? And the worst part of a fight is when the other man lands a clean truth. He was right about the casting. I was right about the money. 2 prisoners of the same childhood play, each blaming the other for his cell. We shouted for an hour. The neighbors heard everything. The rolls cracked that night, both of them. At the end, wrung out, he said the thing that reset everything. I don't want your money. I never wanted your money. I wanted you to see me as capable of not needing it. And there it was. The actual account this whole ledger had been hiding. We sat in silence after that, 2 grown men on a roof where we'd flown kites. Sometimes the most productive minutes in a family's financial history contain no numbers at all, just the sound of 2 costumes coming off. We made one rule up there: no more audience. Whatever we did about money next would be built for us too, not performed for the table. The family theater lost both actors in one night. Attendance has never been better. Then he asked for help. Real help. The humiliating, specific kind. Not a transfer, a plan. And I learned the difference between helping someone and rescuing them. Rescue says you can't. Help says you can, and I'll hold the latter. I owed an apology of my own, and I paid it. For the silence, the superiority, the quiet enjoyment of being the good one while he drowned on schedule. Ledgers aren't innocent. Recording a disaster you could have flagged is its own kind of debt. That rooftop was our real inheritance split. Not property, roles. We handed back the storm and the ledger and negotiated 2 men instead. Everything the family table assigned, we unassigned. Act 3 is the rebuild. New arrangement, written on actual paper like the football boots deal. I'm the coach, not the ATM. No transfers. Structure, accountability, and exactly 1 emergency backstop with conditions. He signed it, then framed it. Old joke, new meaning. Week 1, full autopsy of his finances. Every card, Every EMI, every polite lie, face up on the table, girlfriend video style. The number was bad. Knowing the number was instantly better. Monsters shrink when measured. You've heard me say it. He finally felt it. We lined his debts up by interest rate and killed the most expensive first. The avalanche method. Minimums on everything, all spare force on one target. Debt is arithmetic plus emotion. The list handles the arithmetic. Having a brother in the room handles the rest. The hardest line item, his image. We didn't delete it. That's amputation. It never holds. We capped it. A real monthly number for generosity and shine, spent guilt-free, in cash. The storm got a budget. Turns out weather can be scheduled. Then he did the bravest thing I've seen at a family dinner. He told the truth. I was in debt. Badly. I'm fixing it. The gifts are done for a while. The table went silent. Then, applause. Real applause. The first he'd ever gotten for free. The charisma found honest work. He started coaching football on weekends. Kids, then a small academy. The exact talent that used to spend money began earning it. Nothing was wasted. It was just plugged in backwards this whole time. Every card he killed, he'd call me and I'd answer whatever I was doing. 30 seconds. Card number 3 is dead. Witnessed victories stick. You know this from the money dates. Between brothers it works double, because the witness shares your blood and your bunk bed history. Meanwhile, he pushed me somewhere too. My hoard finally got a mission beyond fear. Some went to index funds. Some, his idea, became seed money for his academy, structured as a proper investment. Contract, equity, the works. The ledger learned to bet. Look at us now, mechanically. His engine runs on people and momentum, mine on systems and patience. Same direction for the first time ever. Complementary machines, once the costumes came off. The family didn't have 2 flawed sons. It had one complete toolkit, split at birth. And the coach, not ATM paper, still hangs framed in his hallway, next to his academy's first team photo. Under it, in his handwriting, the only loan that ever paid off. I'll allow it. The football boots money can stay open forever now. Practical section. Because your family has its own storm and ledger, and you already know which one you are. First truth. Sibling roles shape money behavior at least as much as parenting does. The house writes the script. The sibling defines your role against theirs. Second, you didn't just get cast. You were cast as a contrast. Careful because he was wild. Wild because she was careful. Siblings differentiate like products in a market. Your money personality is partly just brand positioning from 1998. So audit the label. What was your role in the family play? The responsible one, the baby, the dreamer, the fixer. Now check your bank statements. If your spending pattern is just the label with a debit card, you've never actually chosen your money life. Kill the family scoreboard where you can. Refuse the comparison conversations. Every, "Did you hear what their son bought?" is a market signal for the performance economy. Starve it. The table adjusts faster than you'd think. Ours did. If a sibling asks for money, here are my rules, engraved in scar tissue. Never lend what you can't gift. Never rescue without a repair plan. Put it on paper. Paper protects love, not the money. And decide your one backstop in advance, not at the dinner table. When the family says, "But he's your brother," agree. Say, "Exactly, he's my brother, which is why he gets my time, my structure, and my honesty, instead of a transfer that buys 6 months of silence." Watch the sentence do its work. Love that costs thinking beats love that costs money. Fund capability, never consumption. Course fees, tools, seed capital with a contract. Yes. Card payments and lifestyle patches. No. One builds an engine, the other just pays for smoke that's already left the pipe. If you're the ledger watching a sibling drown in slow motion, say it early, kindly, privately, once. My silence cost 18 extra months of compounding at loan shark rates. Politeness that watches a disaster is not politeness. It's cowardice with better manners. And if you're the storm reading this, the people you're performing for would trade every gift for one honest sentence. The debt behind the shine always gets discovered. Choose the discovery moment yourself, on a roof, on your terms, before the interest chooses it for you. The whole point, casting isn't destiny. My brother rewrote his role at 33 with 4 dead cards and a football academy as proof. The play only continues while both actors keep showing up. Someone has to stop first. Be the one. Where the experiment stands, 3 years after the rooftop. His debt? 0. His academy? 2 grounds, 1 paid coach, modest profit. My investment in it? His best performing line item, he insists on saying. The 2 curves, for the first time in 30 years, point the same way. He's still the storm, by the way. Recovery didn't make him me, thank God. Last month he threw his daughter a birthday party the whole street attended. Difference: it was paid for before it happened, from an envelope labeled exactly that. Weather, scheduled. And I'm still the ledger. But the ledger funds things now. His academy, my index funds, the occasional unjustifiable dinner where I pick up the bill because I want the room to light up. He taught me that spending. I finally understand what he was buying all along. Family dinners changed too. The comparison scoreboard starved once we stopped feeding it. Now the table asks Zane for football academy stories and asks me about investing. The same people, cheering actual things. Audiences follow the show you give them. Give them a better one. Funny outcome, the cousins come to us now, together. The storm explains why they overspend. The ledger builds their payoff plan. We're a 2-man financial clinic for the whole extended family. The play got canceled and replaced with a service. And our father, the quiet source of half these patterns, watched all of it and one evening said, "I labeled you both wrong. I'm glad you returned the labels." 71 years old. Cycles don't only break downward, sometimes they break upward too. You've heard that before. Every quarter now, we do what we call the bunk bed summit. 2 brothers, 1 evening, all numbers on the table. His business, my portfolio, the parents' fund we run together. The room we shared as boys finally holds an honest conversation about money. 30 years late. Right on time. That's the other thing we built. A joint fund for our parents. Automatic, split by our incomes, invisible to their pride. The storm and the ledger, co-signing. Ami's sea trips run on it. She thinks we take turns paying. Let her. So what did 30 years of the natural experiment prove? Not that savers win and spenders lose. That unexamined roles lose. Both of them. The hoard nearly cost me my brother. The show nearly cost him everything. The rewrite saved us both. Identical twins, opposite bank accounts. That was the title. Update for the record. Same house, different accounts, same direction. That's the correction 30 years earned. The experiment continues. The data looks good. Last month, we stood in our old room. The bunk bed's gone. The dent in the wall from his football is not. 2 men, 1 storm, 1 ledger, 0 costumes. Rooms remember. Fortunately, they also forgive. For my birthday, he gave me a box. Inside, football boots, my size, and a note. Debt cleared, with interest. Interest is, you play left wing at the academy on Sundays. 22 years late, the best repayment I've ever received. I play terribly, every Sunday. His daughter, 9 years old, asked me at Eid, "Chachu, should I save it or spend it?" The whole room went quiet. The storm and the ledger looked at each other over her head, and we answered together. Both. Decide the split before it's in your hand. That's the whole rewrite in one scene. She won't be cast as the storm or the ledger. She gets what neither of us got. A choice. Explained early, modeled twice, with two uncles running opposite strategies in plain daylight. The experiment's third generation starts with the data. Ami's ice cream jar came to the Academy's opening day, by the way. She bought cones for every kid on the ground from it. 3 stories, 1 prop. Some objects retire into legend. I need you to hear this part. We almost never fixed it. 1 unsent text, 1 skipped rooftop, and this video is a different genre. Most sibling money stories end in silence at weddings and funerals. Ours nearly did. The margin was 1 honest hour. Final accounting of the rolls. His costume cost $1.4 million plus interest. Mine cost 18 months of silence and very nearly a brother. The family table got 30 years of theater, free. Nobody would have called any of it a transaction. Everything is a transaction. If I could stand in that old room and tell the bunk bed boys one thing: you are not your review. The careful one is allowed to be generous. The lively one is allowed to be solvent. The uniforms come off, preferably before Act 3. Full disclosure, Zane reviews these scripts before I record them. His one note on this video: make me better looking and make the debt bigger so the comeback sounds cooler. The storm, ladies and gentlemen. Some things you don't rewrite. The thesis of this whole channel, proven twice in one family. Money behavior is a story you were handed by a jar, a label, a table, and every handed story can be edited. My mother edited hers at 61, my brother at 33. Your turns whenever you pick up the pen. Takeaways, the sibling edition. 1. Even identical DNA doesn't mean identical wallets. Money behavior is cast, not inherited. If your sibling handles money opposite to you, you're not each other's enemy. You're each other's control group. 2. Name the role you were given. Say it out loud. The careful one, the fun one, the fixer. A role you can name is a role you can quit. A role you can't name runs your accounts on autopilot forever. 3. The golden rule of family money. Never lend what you can't afford to convert to a gift. Every family loan is a gift with a waiting period. Price it that way, and the resentment never gets a room. 4. If you bail someone out with no plan attached, book the sequel now. Structure is the love. The transfer is just logistics. Coach, don't ATM, even when the table chants otherwise. 5. If you can see a sibling's crash coming, one honest private conversation, early, beats years of polite watching. You're not respecting them with silence. You're just buying your own comfort with their compounding interest. 6. When you do help, fund capability. Tools, courses, seed capital, contracts. Anything that makes the money self-repeating. Paying off a lifestyle buys smoke. Funding an engine buys a future. And sometimes, a football academy. 7. Whatever table you perform for, family, feed, group chat, remember both jerseys play the same losing game. Flexing and martyring are the same sport. Exit the league. Build in private, love in public. Because it was never about the football boots, or the cards, or the wedding gifts, or the 1.4 million. It was about 2 boys performing for one table, 30 years past the final curtain. We stopped. The money fixed itself embarrassingly fast after that. This is Wealth Mechanics, the family series. The best friend, the father, her, my mother, and now the storm upstairs. Subscribe. There's one relationship left, and it's the one in the mirror. As always, a story, not a prescription. Real decisions deserve a real professional. And if you have a brother you've been silently watching, send him something better than money. Send him this. Good night.